All right. Now we move very quickly into the core of why we are here, which is the panel session that speaks to the topic of what we're discussing today, positioning yourself for financial growth in 2026. Our president in our speech earlier has hit the nail on the head as far as setting the right tone for this conversation. 2026 is going to usher in another era of financial dynamics as far as individuals and businesses are concerned. So it is not enough to earn. There is a need for us to now earn smartly. It is not enough to just be earning and gathering money. There is a need to plan and be wise in terms of how we coordinate our finances, which is why we are going to be having conversation as to how we can go around planning and position ourselves very well for success when it comes to 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to be moderating this panel session, but individuals that are going to be having this conversation with us, please permit me to introduce them. I want to start with our very first panelist, Dr. Ogunmuyiwa Sulaiman Olagoke, who is also available on the call. I take his citation now. Dr. Ogunmuyiwa Sulaiman Olagoke is a distinguished civil servant of over 30 years of experience in the Lagos State government. He currently serves as Director and Head of Department for Private Education and Special Programs at the Office of Education Quality Assurance, Ministry of Education. In addition to his government role, Dr. Olagoke is the lead counselor at M Solution Consulting International Limited, where he leverages his expertise to drive organization growth and development. He holds a Bachelor of Arts, Education in Guidance and Counseling, as well as two master's degrees in Education Administration and Guidance and Counseling from the University of Lagos. Dr. Olagoke furthered his academic pursuits with a PhD in Education Administration and Planning from the University of Abuja, specializing in the implementation and practice of education quality assurance systems. Dr. Olagoke is also a respected leader in various organizations. He serves as president of Complete Trust Cooperative Multipurpose Society and chairman of the board of incorporated trustees of First Class Muslim Foundation. Additionally, he is a fellow of the Institute of Islamic Finance Professional and the National Institute of Training and Development. Dr. Sulaiman, please say taslim to our audience on the call.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, that is our very first panelist. I proceed to our second panelist, Dr. Basheer Oshodi, who we are fortunate to also have joining one of our sessions earlier this year. I take his citation now, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Basheer Oshodi is a distinguished Nigerian economist, banker, and academic leader, renowned for pioneering non-interest Islamic banking in Africa and advancing integral approaches to socio-economic development. With over 25 years of experience spanning banking, real estate, management consultancy, and academia, he has dedicated his career to fostering ethical finance solutions that promote financial inclusion and poverty alleviation across the continent. He is the president of Non-Interest Financial Institutions Association of Nigeria. As the CEO of Trust Author, a fund management firm specializing in Sharia-compliant investments, Dr. Oshodi drives innovative products in investment, corporate, commercial, and retail banking. Previously, he served as group head of non-interest banking at Sterling Bank PLC between 2013 and 2020, where he established 3 non-interest banking windows and developed ethical finance instruments. His earlier roles include head of Islamic Bank, risk and compliance at Stanbic IBTC, a Standard Bank Group subsidiary, where he launched Nigeria's first non-interest banking window in 2009, and head of non-interest finance and research at Enhanced Financial Innovation and Access, a DFID-sponsored initiative. He has also contributed to policy as a member of the Non-Interest Finance Working Group and the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC Alternative Finance Market Master Plan Committee. Dr. Basheer, a prolific scholar and author, his groundbreaking book, An Integral Approach to Development Economics, Islamic Finance in an African Context, blends modernization, dependency, and world system theories in practical Islamic finance strategies to address poverty in emerging economies. He co-authored Islamic to Integral Finance, a semiotic approach, and has published 28 academic articles, chapters, and over 50 non-academic pieces. His research focuses on housing finance, innovation management, and sustainable economic empowerment in Africa. Dr. Oshodi holds a PhD in Management of Innovation and Technology from the Da Vinci Institute of Technology Management, that's in South Africa, in collaboration with Transfer M Center for Integral Development in Geneva, an MPhil in Economics for the University of Buckingham in UK, an MRES in Business and Management from London Metropolitan University, a postgraduate. Thank you. I was going to say that if this is supposed to be a live event, applaud would be going. I wonder why people are not using that digital applause to applaud our speaker. I'll just continue. So in general management and BS in asset management from the University of Lagos, and executive certifications including International Housing Finance, Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, Digital Business Strategy, Columbia University, and Global Business, Side Business School, University of Oxford. An influential academic, he serves as a research associate at the University of Johannesburg, senior fellow at Transfer M, research fellow at the Center for Housing Studies, University of Lagos, and the Center for Integral Socioeconomic Research, that's in Lagos, and Senior Associate at the Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, that's in Malaysia. He is also a member of the International Atlantic Economic Society and the American Economic Association. Dr. Oshodi's work continues to bridge finance, ethics, and development, inspiring pathways to financial independence for underserved communities in Africa. Distinguished guests, I am very sure with this citation, I believe we agree with me that we are in for a very fantastic journey today. Dr. Basheer, should you please help me say Teslim to members on the call?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for joining us today to have this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I move to our next panelist. We have also been fortunate to have Dr. Akeem as one of our panelists in the previous editions we've had this year around our webinar. So I take a citation now. Dr. Akeem Oyewale holds a BSc Honours degree in accounting from the University of Lagos, an MBA from Manchester Business School, United Kingdom, and a doctorate degree in management of technology and innovation from Da Vinci Institute, South Africa. He is an alumnus of the Side Business School, University of Oxford, and a certified impact investing expert from the Graduate School of Business, University of Cape Town. He also holds a professional certificate in Islamic capital markets from Sidf, that's in Malaysia. Dr. Akeem, an Arthur Anderson scholar, has over 20 years of extensive experience in investment banking, credit marketing, trade finance, and sustainable finance. He managed the Stanbic IBTC Nigerian Equity Fund, Nigeria's largest mutual fund at the time, and was responsible for the launch of the Stanbic IBTC Ethical Fund. He is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, CIS, and the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, and an associate of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN. In addition, he is a member of the Pension Industry Non-Interest Advisory Committee, PINAC, and currently the second vice president of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. He previously served as CEO of Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers Limited, Stanbic IBTC Asset Management Limited, and Stanbic IBTC Nominees Limited, all parts of the Standard Bank Group. He is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Marble Capital Limited and a member of the Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC Financial Literacy Technical Committee. Under his leadership, Marble Capital Limited launched Nigeria's first commodities fund, the Marble Halal Commodity Fund, and the Marble Halal Fixed Income Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. Akeem Oyewale. Sir, please kindly unmute yourself and say Taslim to members on the call.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate it. While I was taking the citation of Dr. Basheer and Dr. Akeem, realizing they both went to Side Business School, Da Vinci Institute, I am compelled to say maybe I should go pick a form to also go attend Da Vinci Institute and but that's by the way. Alhamdulillah for the lives of these our panelists, and we thank Allah that they are doing experts to inspire the next generation. So we move to the core of the session, which is to explore the topic positioning ourselves for financial success ahead of 2026. Distinguished guests and gentlemen, I want to kindly request our panelists to please unmute themselves, let their video on so that they can take their sessions as I throw questions at them. Again, to our panelists, to our members, please note that if you have any question, you can even drop it. I can choose to pick your question and ask the panelists immediately without necessarily referring to what I have penned down. So please, at intervals, you can drop your question and I can pick it and ask them. So I want to start with Dr. Sulaiman Ogunmuyiwa because we want to start this conversation from the point of mindset reorientation. We understand that there is a need for Muslims and individuals now. When we're talking about money, I know that there is a need for people to be rich in the mind. Let me put it that way. So the first question I'm going to throw to you is that many people, a lot desire financial growth, but they just feel stuck mentally. So in terms of mindset shift, what are the mindset shifts you would recommend that people should have when it comes to trying to position themselves for financial success or growth in 2026?
All right, thank you so very much. I feel highly delighted to be on this call. I want to start by expressing my heartfelt appreciation to the leadership of the sisters in June Foundation. I don't know whether our moderator is part of the foundation because we said our foundation. But I feel that because it's the sisters, maybe you are not there. Especially, I want to thank Dr. Adebola Nura for giving me the honor to speak at this final quarterly advocacy session. And I'm highly delighted at the topic that we are looking at. It is positioning yourself for financial growth in 2026. I think this is very timely. I wish I could take this back, 20, 30 years when I was much younger and I'm opportunity to listen to this kind of a thing because I have a very close mindset when it comes to making money. I told my siblings that I'm not going to be very rich. I don't want to be a classroom teacher, or a civil servant, and that's all. I don't need too much money. But now I have a different mindset. So how did I get to that point? Now it's not only a matter of your bank accounts, that you want to start talking about financial growth. You also need it for your peace of mind. You need it for your confidence. You need it for your relationship, and you need it for your future family well-being. From my background as an educator and a marriage counselor, I can tell you confidently that financial readiness is all about life readiness. If you are not ready for life, then it means you are not, you are not ready financially, then you are not ready for life. So your financial habits, influence your emotional health, influence your family, influence your marriage, and also the opportunities that will come to you. Even your spiritual mindset or well-being. So I want to say that you need a mindset transformation, which is going to be from scarcity to abundance. Now, the first step towards this financial growth is not money, it's your mindset. We were all, especially our own generation, and a lot of people in this generation too, and when we were young, we were raised in an environment that tells us that money is very hard. Money is hard to get, and that opportunities are few. Only very few people will have that opportunity. And also that success is for the privileged, it's not for everybody. Now, this is what I call a scarcity mindset, a belief that wealth is limited and is not accessible, it's inaccessible. And this Islam teaches us otherwise. What Islam teaches us is that man shall, shall have nothing except what we strive for in Quran 53, verse 39. So I want us to shift to what is called abundance mindset. Believe that opportunities are many and can be created. A lot of opportunities are there untapped. A lot of potentials are in people. Somebody said, do you know the place that contains or that has the largest, ideas and potentials? There it is in the brain, because a lot of people will die with their potentials and nobody will see it. We have to know that skills are learned, opportunities can be created, and there are many. Mistakes can be corrected, and growth is possible for anybody. So have this mindset, have this, know that your mindset is a soil, and your financial habits, which my other panelists are going to really talk about, is the seed that you want to plant. Now, when you have a good financial habit, but you are putting it in your mindset, which is the soil, it will not grow. The soil must be fertile, and that soil is your mindset. If you have a good mindset and you have good financial habits, which is the seed, then it should be crystal clear to you that you are going to grow financially come 2026. If the soil is poisoned with fear, with doubt, with low self-belief, with the fact that nothing grows, then you are not going to get it. And I want to stop here by saying that if you are looking for financial growth, you are looking for financial freedom, then you should know that what you are looking for is looking for you. And what you are not looking for is not looking for you. Allah said in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. He said, if you believe in Allah and you engage in righteous deeds, Allah will open, and you are steadfast, Allah will open doors for you. Allah will give you opportunities. He said, وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Where you least expect, Allah will bring resources, Allah will bring finance, Allah will bring funding for you. And this is what I want to say, that we have to shift from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. It does not do anything to Allah if every one of us are billionaires. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I love that powerful note where you ended. It does not cost Allah anything if everyone is a billionaire. I think that powerfully sums it up, that there is a need for us to understand and operate from that abundance mindset and not from scarcity mindset. Thank you. That was a very powerful opener. And that will lead me to go to Dr. Basheer immediately. Dr. Sulaiman has talked about that mindset shift, the need to shift from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset, which is why I'm going to ask you now, in practical terms. I know he has mentioned we should operate from the abundant mindset, and there is me, hypothetically, who has just one means of income, who is struggling, probably making less than 100K per month, and realistically, that is not even scratching the surface as far as my need is concerned. So practically now, as we head to 2026, how do I translate that abundance mindset into actionable steps? In this case now, what can attract me multiple sources of income? How do you think we can do that?
Okay, thank you very much. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, ladakakihi, waridan nafsihi, wa zinata arshiyum da kalimati. Okay, thank you very much. So basically, I'm going to be looking at experience, rather than, some theoretical platform, if you like, right? So the first thing, let's look at the lowest hanging fruit, right? You have a job, you're earning so much, right? I mean, a few years ago, I was working in one of the banks. We had a seminar somewhere in VI. And one of my colleagues came up to me and said, Basheer, I think you should go and renegotiate. Right? So go and renegotiate your contract with the bank. Right? What does that mean? It means that, hey, whatever you're being paid does not match your skills. Right? It may also mean that the company cannot afford you. Right? So the first thing, the lowest hanging fruit is, you have a job, you're earning so much or so little, but it cannot be enough, right? Can you renegotiate? Can you renegotiate? Can you go back to your employer and say, hey, I can do so much, but this is what I've done. I want a better pay. Can you do that? If you can't do that, I think I mentioned that the last time, can you move? And there's nothing wrong with that. Can you say, hey, can you seek for other opportunities and potentially move so I can get better income? And on the other side, can you then, of course, start to do something, by the way? Because even if you want to be an entrepreneur, which is a great thing, right? It's not going to happen just like that. A gentleman came up to me the other day, he wants 500 million naira because he has a supply contract. He doesn't have a balance sheet. He's done it before. He's apologies, a young guy. He doesn't have the experience. He has not handled money, right? Am I going to give it to him? No, because he's not done it before. So in other words, while you're trying to stabilize in your job and trying to get better offers and get better deals, I think you want to then to explore other sources of income. Can you start now? When I say now, I mean now. I was speaking with two government agencies. I want to package something for them, right? And they kept saying, oh, it's November already. Let's do it in January. I said, no, we're not going to do it in January. We're going to do it right now. We're going to put up everything now, get everything sorted. On the second week in January, we're going to approve it. You're going to get it approved, and we're going to get started. So in other words, the business you're going to do is start now, right? Do you have a business case? I think I mentioned that the last time. Do you have a business case? There's somebody close to me, she does fashion, not on the Sharia side. I said, 3 years I've been speaking with you about having a business case. You cannot know where you're progressing. You can't know. You think you're doing well, but you can never know. Somebody went when I was in site, somebody came to Oxford from Italy. She was doing fashion designing, and she came to learn global business to expand her business beyond Europe. Just imagine. So no matter how small that business, you need a powerful business case, lovely projection. You then start to measure, right? How much funds do I need? Where can I get the cheaper funds? Can I get from the zero interest fund that BOI has, the federal government fund that sits with BOI? Can I get money at zero interest, right? They can then put up a markup, for doing the Sharia compliant one, and for those doing interest, it's still as a. Can I sell something by the side so that in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, you have a balance sheet, right? You cannot do a business of let's say 10 million naira. I go to the bank, I expect the bank to give you 100 million naira. No way, Islamic or no Islamic. It means that you must have some kind of track record to show. Again, sometimes, some fashion designer guy came to me when I was in the bank. I said, oh, he's doing so much every day. He makes a lot of money. I'm like, okay, can you show me evidence? No evidence. Money doesn't pass through his accounts. He doesn't have anything to show that he makes 10,000 naira a day or a month or a week. He doesn't have anything. So again, track record is very important. Now, as we go on, we then start to also say, okay, if you're going to start now, what then must you do? Excess wealth that comes in. Economists that won Nobel Prizes will argue that savings and investment will lead to economic prosperity. Developed economists will argue that doesn't make sense in an African context. They cannot save to be wealthy. Even the richest man in Africa has not saved to build a refinery. He has access facilities all over the world. On the back of that, his net worth increased heavily, right? So it then means that in reality, even though it's good to save, but that cannot take you from the shackles of poverty. It cannot, no matter how much you save, right? But it then means that you can as well save for the purpose of having access to finance, consistent access. When you have access to finance, it can then allow you to unleash those dreams steadily and quietly, right? And consistently, for that matter. So again, in the long term, you then need to build a more permanent portfolio, right? And when I mentor friends and colleagues and young people, I ask them, where do you want to be in 10 years? If you don't have a clue where you're going to be in 10 years, if you don't have a clue, and it's not just about where you're going to be in 10 years, but what trajectory, what path are you going to follow to get to that place in 10 years' time? That's a long-term dream, right? What path are you going to follow? What additional qualifications do you need? What friendship do you need? Friendship. What connection? I like to refer to my good friend. I call him my good friend, John Maxwell, the law of connection. What extra connection do you need right there in Sisters and Dean or your mosque or your class or wherever, or your old friends, secondary school friends? What connection do you need to take you to that long-term goal? Now, if all of these things are not fashioned out now, right, and if you like amended consistently, written, I like the word written. They must be written. If you have a strategy that is not written, you have a strategy, right? That strategy must be written. So you look at to summarize, look at the immediate term, which I mentioned, change your role if it's not sustainable. I mean, on a later note, Prophet Ibrahim went to Ishmael in Kaaba and met his wife. I said, how you guys doing? He said, oh, we're struggling a lot. Oh, you're struggling? Time to change so and so. I'm not going to go into the details of that. And when they got back, he changed whatever he had to change, because there was something that was not, allowing him to be successful. So in other words, if you have parties within you, and these parties aren't giving you value, eliminate, substitute very quickly for that matter, right? And my former boss, one of the banks where I worked, we say if you do something the same way all the time, you're going to get the same result. So it means you have to change your ways very quickly, right? So the short term, change your ways. In the second term, put up a plan. In the short term, put together some kind of plan towards having access in the back of your little savings. And in the longer term, you put together some kind of longer term strategy, and then try to measure your strategy every now and then. I think I'll just take a pause at this time. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir, for that introduction to your session too. Thank you very much, Giselle. I appreciate that. I would like to go to Dr. Akeem right now, but I want to please, Chris and Douglas, to direct my next question to Dr. Sulaiman because he has to get to another engagement. I sincerely apologize to Dr. Akeem right now. So, Dr. Sulaiman, before you leave, sir, I need you to please help us answer, share your perspective on this question, and that is the money mindset. The money mindset. There is one of the trending statements that we got to have this year is money na water. If you spend money, money will come. If you spend money, money will come. Money na water. So some people have that. I also understand that some people are in the habit of just wanting to find themselves in some financial commitments for the sake of leveling up with maybe societal expectation among other things. So I need you to please share your perspective as far as your experience is concerned about one, the limiting beliefs that people have about money that is probably accounting for why they're not progressing, or some other belief that are on the up there out of bound that is making them not even progress at the rate they should be if these beliefs are out of place. So in summary, what are the beliefs that are not supposed to be, that are not expected of somebody with a progressive financial mindset, and the ones that should be cultivated, especially as 2026 approaches?
Thank you very much. I also apologize to Dr. Abdulakim for taking his time. I already mentioned my constraint that I have another commitment right now, and I would have loved to stay on this course seriously because I know I'm going to benefit too. So when it comes to belief about money, there are some limiting beliefs that we must challenge. People believe that I don't deserve wealth. Why don't you deserve wealth? People believe that, people in my category or people are like me cannot make it. You see those who are making it, you see that either they have their fathers or they have some, so some people condemn themselves to say, and other people come from the spiritual language that if I run after money, money will corrupt me. I want to stay within the confine of renouncing the world. So some people don't want to have anything to do with money. From the counseling perspective, there are some limiting beliefs too that come from our childhood experiences when we believe that some things happened in the past, and because of that, some people are navigating parental language because of what has been said to them in the past. Now, everybody has gone through failure, and I always like to tell people about my story. Past failures are affecting people. When I finished my WAEC in 1987, I had 4 P's and 4 F's, you know. So when you have that kind of experience that you have failed before, you now have to struggle again before you get yourself. Past failures at times pull people down, and it doesn't make them to make breakthroughs. Also, is that some people have gone through trauma or financial stress in the home based on what they have witnessed before. So the healing from this limitation begins when you name the belief and you challenge it. You must be able to identify that belief and you challenge it. Is this a true belief? Can you check your family history? Is it true? Nobody has ever made it. If nobody has ever made it, have you checked some history that somebody will start something? Maybe you are the one that is going to make the breakthrough in your family. Then where did I learn this belief from? Where is it coming from? Does it serve me positively or is it limiting me? Now, because we all have both positive and negative experiences growing up, there's no one that will not be able to, make reference to one positive or one negative, experience growing up. So a healthy belief sounds like Allah rewards every effort. So when is Allah going to reward my effort? Now, skills, not background, determines success. So what new skill have you learned? Just like Dr. Oshodi was trying to say, you have some limited financial income. So what new skill do you need to learn to be able to, increase what you have? Now, very important is we have to be disciplined and consistent. And we should understand the concept of delayed gratification. People say, no pain, no gain. You go through some pain, maybe in school, maybe in learning, maybe in saving. It will come another time that you now come and see the gain. I am today a president of a cooperative, and I tell you that the cooperative manages about 15 million every month. Now, when I started work as a civil servant, I was not saving. It was almost 15, 20 years, 18 years after I have been in service that I started saving. Now, I joined an investors club 20 years ago, and I've been paying 10,000 every month. You can imagine, today, there are investments we could point to that we have done. Now, what I'm trying to say is that you go through some period of pain before you get the gain. And this is what delayed gratification is telling us. And we have to be disciplined and consistent in whatever we are saying. Let me round up by saying that financial success is not a magic. It has to do with discipline in small daily choices. Save before spending. Avoid impulsive buying. Learning instead of just scrolling through Facebook and scrolling. Why don't you just take some 10 minutes to learn? Investing instead of wasting your money. You say, I look at, I have this 50,000. Let me go and blow it. Rather than blowing it to buy shawarma and buy this, why don't I put it in one investment and someone is going to give me in the next 3 months? And also planning and not just you wishing something. In counseling, one of the leading causes of marital conflict is financial indiscipline. And the prophet has told us that, the strong one is the one who controls himself. So you must be able to control yourself to say, this is how much I'm earning. I want to start saving. This is the mindset that I have. I don't want anything to limit me. I don't want my background to limit me. I also want to be successful in 2026. So you start from now. Make sure you have smart goals that are specific, that you can measure this year, next year, what are you doing? And that they are achievable, they are realistic, and they are time bound. For example, I want to save 50,000, for 12 months. I want to complete 3 professional courses in 2026. I want to start an online business in 2026. Your goal must be that income goals, saving goals, investment goals, skill development goals. These are the things I want you to know that is going to give you a breakthrough in 2026 and beyond. I thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts. I wish I could stay more to express more thoughts and also learn from my 2 other great speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jazakumullah Khairan, for that beautiful submission. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May Allah reward you abundantly. And I believe that from the feedback I've been getting, people have been enjoying the conversation so far. Thank you very much for sharing that. A lot has been said as far as mindset orientation is concerned. For those who believe that they don't deserve to be rich or other archaic mindset that has been stated. I believe that for everyone on the call, we're having a mindset orientation. I'll move quickly now to Dr. Akeem. So while Dr. Basheer was talking, is one of the first things he hinted at was the need to probably for 9 to 5 people now, for those who have a 9 to 5. He said one of the things that can be done is probably to see how to renegotiate. Now, while taking your profile, I saw that you moved from working with Stanbic IBTC to starting your own business. So my question to you is, as far as positioning oneself for financial success is concerned with 2026, in practical terms, can you please help in clearly stating how to identify those power moves? For a typical chess player, now a chess player is constantly on the lookout of what move should I play to ensure that I get to, at the end of the day, win. So for a 9 to 5 person, I want to start with that. For a 9 to 5 person, what is the practical advice you can give to people that fall into this category as to power moves they can put in place to ensure that they position themselves for financial success in 2026? Dr. Akeem, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. And thanks to every other person that has spoken earlier. I hope I'm clear enough,
Yes.
Yeah. So for anybody that is interested in making a proper move, in 2026, I think just like the saying goes, the best time to plant a tree, was 10 years ago. The next best time is now. Okay. So what that means essentially is that if you are really planning to make a move next year, you should have been planning it a while back. If you hadn't, then it's not too late. Okay, but you need to do a few things. Okay, you don't just move because you want to move. That is not ideal. You move because it is ideal for you to move. You've done your planning, you've analyzed yourself, and one thing I like to tell people as much as possible, Dr. Ogunmuyiwa said something, he called it delayed gratification. Okay, delayed gratification is something that is extremely important. And what does this mean? Okay, it means that yes, you know your value, but the time you are taking to actually actualize your value may not be immediately. Rather, you are using the time that you have now to gather additional pedigree in terms of experience, in terms of connection, which is something that Dr. Bash mentioned. Networking is extremely important, for you to be able to be successful on the streets. Let me use that word. So if you are really serious about moving next year, ask yourself the question: why? Why do you want to move? Okay, what do you have? Okay, and when I say what you have, I'm not asking only about your financial positioning, which is important. I mean, just like Dr. Ogunmuyiwa said, it causes stresses in marriages when the financial indiscipline or challenges arise. So you must sort yourself out from the financial position. Are you sure your family, yourself, you are already sorted from the financial planning position? But the most important activities you need to have are your skills. What are the talents that you have? What are the skills, understanding, knowledge, connections, network, your knowledge of that industry that you want to go into? That is most important, because in addition to all of this, you're going to need what is called discipline and patience. Okay. You may be lucky, you may go into a new line and you may get using balance, the first contract, and you may just blow, But it's also possible that you go into the new line of business that you want to go into, and that may be the time you may be facing challenges. Okay. And the time that they may change, if it's a regulated industry, maybe the time that they're going to increase the capital of that business, and you may just find yourself that your plans will just go up in smoke, So what I'm saying essentially is two things. One, are you ready? If you are ready, then you must ensure you have proper planning. Two, you know those things that you require and you have them in abundance. Then finally, you must be very, very patient, very, very patient, and be ready to be flexible. Being able to pivot when things happen is extremely important. You start your business or your new line and say, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing. If you get there and that's not what is obtainable in reality, be ready to change, ready to be flexible. Don't say, no, I'm here to be selling mangoes. And people are asking for oranges, and you're saying you're not going to go into selling of oranges. No, 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 no. Be ready to pivot, be ready to change whenever circumstances demand it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for again your introduction to this conversation. We sincerely appreciate it. I'll go back to Dr. Basheer. Sir, sorry, sir. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Dr. Basheer now. So in practical terms, I like to jokingly say that every home or every individual are supposed to plan their life as though they're a government. For example, governments at federal and state level are currently preparing budget for 2026. The budget is going to be sent to the National Assembly or State House of Assemblies. It's going to be reviewed, then it's going to be approved. And that working document will account for what capital projects should be done next year, what is the amount to be spent on salaries, what is the amount to be spent on, etc., that as far as government operation is concerned. So, sir, in practical terms, and I know that as far as individual is concerned, there is debt that individuals have, either small or huge. There is project that people want to do. Maybe someone wants to build house next year or wants to buy a car or wants to go to Hajj, luxury Hajj, for example. Then there is day-to-day activity, money for food, money for education, grocery, etc. So in practical terms, when it comes to financial plan ahead of 2026, how would you advise somebody that is thinking of hitting it big next year in terms of planning around a working document, something that can be tracked, that we can measure outcome against expectations?
Okay, thanks. So what needs do we have? What needs do we have? Want to have a nice house, a good one, or loads of houses, want to be able to move around, have cars, vehicles, want to have cover, insurance cover, takaful cover here and there. Want to eat nice food, and take care of the family well. Want good health care, right? I want to subscribe to a lot of social networks here and there. And then on the back of that, we then have bloated budgets, right? Sometimes some things are necessary. Again, let me go practical. There's a second dad of mine, my rich dad, if you like, he always mentioned that anytime he's getting a house, he doesn't want to build a massive mansion. He built such that he can always rent one out. So when I was building a house in VI, I built 2 units. When I was building in Surulere, I built 2 units. Anyways, build units so that he doesn't have to use everything. In the same vein, I visited a friend, much older, the MD of a bank, and he built a place in Parkview, massive. He's in his 60s, early 60s. I said, why are you building on 2,000 square meters? He said that he wants to be there. He likes it. He likes it that way. His kids are out of school, but that's what he wants, So he feels that's what he wants. Now, back to your question. What are the things we need? How do we align our budgets within our means? How do we make it sustainable? Do you know that a lot of our fathers got broke at some point? You know why they got broke? They got broke because in the 80s and 90s, and there was cash flow, everything was good, and then younger people came in, and all of that. It doesn't as if they were out of pocket. They were not as wealthy as they were in the 70s and the 80s. So those who were civil servants, those that were in government, they lost track of, they lived luxury lives, and then suddenly they couldn't afford that luxury hotel in front of the Aram anymore, right? They couldn't afford to stay in Central London when they travel, right? And they could not afford a brand new car anymore. That was because the planning wasn't effective. So when you have your cash flow, for the year, again, you don't have a long-term projection. You then assume at the back of your mind that what if I don't have a job anymore? What if my business dies? Some guys came out to me the other day that their business got burnt down, husband and wife, working in one company. It got burnt down. There was no insurance, right? They had to start all over again. What if you lose everything, right? It can be a test from Allah, right? You see, great minds. You know what happens with great minds? When they fall, they stand. You see, the quicker you stand, the better for you. Are you telling me that the richest man in Africa has not lost a lot of money before? Yes, he has lost a lot of money, right? But the quicker he's able to jump up and re-strategize, the better. So again, on the housing part, how can you have wealth in that area that is sustainable, such that at some point in your life, you can rely on those rental income to live, right? That plan must be now, just like Dr. Akeem mentioned, right? Now, food, my wife has warned me that don't use me as an example anymore, so I'm not going to use her as an example. If she's here, food, are you going to buy all the expensive food or just manage your budget well? So you can also then, again, save for the purpose of being able to come up with new or bigger investments, right? Vehicles, you need a brand new car every time. I mean, if you work in the bank, you give us brand new cars every year. Every 4 years, every 4 years, right? Are you going to buy, am I going to change your cars every now and then when you can put those monies in other portfolios, investments that can give you return? Again, for those of you that are 50, you are running out of time and of a lot of things, right? In terms of being able to accumulate wealth, except you strategize. For those in full employment, no problem. One of the banks where I worked, when you're 48, they tell you to go. They tell you to go. Those are civil servants, no problem. I also know those are civil servants that at 55, they barely have a house. They don't even know how their last 2 kids will go to school. And they have to go to school, they have to go to local schools because they don't even know how to take care of the future bills. They don't have a clue. And that's because they did not plan. They did not budget effectively, right? So there's a time, it's just like the story of Anabi Yusuf, when he dreamt, of course, of course, so when the Pharaoh, the king dreamt. You see, there'll be times in our life, we don't know whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when there'll be cash flow, income, cash flow, right? When you have cash flow, a lot of it, you use it effectively and assume that the following year, the next 5 years, there won't be cash flow anymore, or your cash flow will reduce. And when it reduces, you must survive. How do you tell your kids that, do you know what? I financed that structure, I financed this company, I built that shopping mall. Who cares about that? They want to go to Oxford for their first degree, right? So what concerns them about the fact that you did all of these things? So you must have that plan, right, in your budget, housing and investment on the real estate side. Vehicles, right? Somebody said the thing you shouldn't waste money on is boats for those that are rich. But guess what? In Nigeria, let's look at phones. I've used my phone for 4 years, and they're not begging me to change my phone, right? People change phone every now and then. A nice Samsung is 3 million naira, right? Do you buy a new phone every year, or do you put it somewhere and get something out of it? How do you want to make money out of all of this? Lifestyle. Do you change your furniture every time because there's a scratch on one part of your chair? No, you don't have to do that. You keep that wealth, you keep it back, right? Insurance, takaful. If something happens now, a friend of mine recently just fell down. Believe it or not, he's already having mouth stroke. Believe it or not, right? He just fell down in his house. Now, can he walk? maybe not as much, right? Does he have life insurance, life takaful? Has he put some budget in that space? No, he has not, right? He has not. Many more. I'm just giving one or two examples, right? Again, I've talked about food and the kind of thing we buy at home. You want to spend all the money and buy everything. I feel that we're eating the best food. You want to save that money, right? The things we subscribe for, right? I mean, why do you have to pay for everything online? At the end of the day, you look at your bill, you just pay for so much. So when you're broke and you don't have a lot of cash, you realize that maybe for a particular week or so, you realize I can live a minimum life. Yesterday, I was listening to the Prophet, the last days of the Prophet, or the last few years of the Prophet. And of course, as you all know, the Prophet lived a life of minimum necessity. But guess what? He was the head of state, commander-in-chief of the armed forces. People forget that. But he chose to live that simple life. You know, when he died, he does not inherit, right? Even his armor that he used to fight war was sitting with a Jew. He had borrowed money from that Jew, he had bought food from that Jew, and he had dropped his armor as collateral, right? So you realize that you can actually live on very little income and save the bulk of it and put it aside, invest it, you know, create assets that are sustainable, right? When you have minimum wage of whatever, right? How do you manage? Again, some people probably just save something for their children's school fees every now and then. For those that are very lucky, they do very well, they get scholarship, fantastic. If they don't, what happens? A friend of mine told me that when he was in Unilag, we're in the same class, first degree, he said his father was not giving him money. He had retired, you know, as a civil servant. He didn't have any more money. He was the last born. There was no money to take care of him. And so we have to rely on his uncles. You know, we need to build a life where we don't rely on anybody, but wherever we are structured. So back to your question, we must have all of this budget, not just for the year, not just 2026, but for the next 20, 30 years, such that whichever way you're able to live a good life, not just for yourself, but for your family. One of the aspects of the Mercosur is the protection of posterity, of your future generation, protection, enhancement, expansion, you know, good life for future generations. So how do you save, how do you control your budget such that for yourself, do well, you're able to support your parents well enough, and of course, you're able to also support your kids and even that, I mean, your future generation. On the other note, you're also able to support those that don't have parents. This has become an integral part of the lifestyle that we must live. It's an interest. So you must have a certain budget for them. In the short term, you know, you put aside something. In the long term, think of some kind of work for some kind of endowment that can allow you to also touch the lives of others. Lastly, I learned this at this very early in the day, that what is yours, what you have given out. What you consume is never yours. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, sir, for that amazing contribution. I will take you on that discussion about the careful very well in the next few questions I'm going to be asking to you. But let me quickly go to Dr. Akeem now. Sir, I needed to also speak, while Dr. Basheer was speaking, he was talking about, he hinted around investment. So I am curious, because I also am aware that one of the ways people leverage investments is to get their goals sorted. Probably somebody's trying to raise a fund for maybe higher education for their kids somehow. They create an investment portfolio that they put in a little money and they don't really have to pay the exact value they're supposed to pay later because of the return on that investment. So I want you to please help us speak as to how individuals on this call can make use of investment as a means of achieving their financial goals, maybe in a very seamless manner. And one of the practice we do these days is to maybe people join cooperative, like Dr. Ogunmuyiwa mentioned. People join cooperative, they probably save X amount of naira and they withdraw 2 times of the amount they have to do a project. Still more of a debt financing sort of. But I need you to please speak to how investment can be used in place of that debt finance to achieve a lot of things financially come next year and years to come.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to share a very, very true and practical example of how this can be done and how it's being done by a lot of people. Okay. Years back, I mean, when I was in Tandy, IDTC, a while back, myself and a colleague of mine, we went to meet a mentor, a senior mentor of ours who was the former CEO of ExxonMobil at the time. Okay, so we went to meet him in a relaxed manner in his house, and he was just sharing his life experiences with us. He said something, and it stuck, with me and my colleague, and we actually had to implement it even officially in the office. He said that his kids, who at that time were literally our age mates, literally our age mates, that when he had his babies, in the early 80s or late 70s, okay, that during the naming ceremony, they, as you normally know, people will give money, they will give gifts, and because he was already in the oil industry, he got a lot of gifts, cash gifts for the wife, cash gifts for the kids as well. So he said to himself, what would he do with this money? I mean, he was wealthy, what? He now decided that, I'm going to invest this cash amount, for this kid that that he was doing the naming ceremony for. Okay, so the cash that he got, he put it in an investment that period, some money was given to the wife as well, and he said to the wife, "Oh, your money, bring it now. Let's invest it for our baby." And the wife said, "No, no, 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 no." I mean, she carried the baby for 9 months. The money is really for her and all of that. Anyway, the woman spent the money for her that she got, but he invested the money for the kids. He now said what happened to him, what he realized was, at the time the kids were about to go to university, and just like Basheer mentioned, the gentleman was in a tough space, financially, work-wise, and all of that. He didn't have as much as he would have. Just, things happen during one's lifestyle. You have tough times, you have not so tough times. It's been said in the Quran as well. Times of toughness, times of ease. So it wasn't a tough time at the time the kid was about to go to school, and he tried to borrow money, raise money. He was struggling. He had other things he was doing. Then it struck him that there was some money he had invested for his child literally 20 years ago. He went back, he dusted the documentation, and lo and behold, the value of the money that was given to him during the naming ceremony of the child at the time was more than enough to take care of the situation he needed at that time for the schooling of his child. So he was just very, very happy. So he went to tell his wife, "You know what? This is the solution to the challenge we're facing." Da, 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 and explain what happened. And the wife was, "Oh, had I known, I would have done what you asked me to do then." Now, the man was telling us a story, but at the same time, he was teaching us a lesson, and the lesson is that whatever you have that you're able to invest helps you at the time you don't even realize it will. I mean, I have another story, but maybe this is not the time. For someone that we all know, that sets up a bank that we all know, almost every one of us that ask you, you will have an account with such a bank, at least 80% of us. But I'm not going to go to the story today. To answer your question directly, from this explanation I've given, anybody that is intending to save or to be in a position where he will not struggle with financing his works in the future, you start today. Most approved funds by SEF have what we call direct debit schemes, where every month, if you have a mutual fund, for example, you can be putting 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, depending on your ability. You do that at times of your rainy days. You don't wait till times that you have cash. You don't wait till there are challenges before you start looking for money. Most people that are working, they can afford 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira every month. Put it in a secured investment, with proper fund managers, and be doing that every month. If you are doing 10,000 naira, that's 120,000 naira every year. Okay, it may not have an impact on your finances. If you are wealthy, you may do 50, you may do 100. But the point is, try and save some money every time you have cash. do not spend everything you have. Do not spend everything you have. Save it for the future, and save in a way that you may not need to even know when the money is being taken. So the salary henna, tie to the time you're going to hand your salary. Do a direct debit. The money comes in, part of it goes out, and it's called delayed gratification. Because there'll be some actually need cash, but the money will have been taken from your account anyway. You will have to make do by adjusting some other investments or some other expenses. So the point I'm making is schemes that allows to make halal investment on a continuous basis. In a way that after a while you don't forget that you're making the investment until when it is time for you to actually reap fruits of those investments. So I'm encouraging every one of us, let us find out that investment that works for us, especially what I would call aggressive investment that can halt your wealth. They may over the last 15 years. Just go and check the valuation today. You will be shocked. You'll be shocked at the amount you will have in your position today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that contribution. We sincerely appreciate that. I have just one question each for Dr. Basheer and Dr. Akeem. Then we move to the questions we have in the chat box already. Of course, this is to officially announce that for those of us on the call, if you have questions, I know some people are already dropping it, but please, you can start dropping so we can ask our panelists. Sir, I told you earlier that I would take you up on the insurance part that you hinted in your last response. And I am coming to ask because one of the things I know that one of the scenarios that people have is I know from experience that there are some emergencies that are not supposed to be emergencies. And I know that we have these instruments in place to protect ourselves from these emergencies that really are not emergencies. Say, for example, somebody gets sick. The person has been doing well for himself, probably earns between 300 to say 700, even more than 1 million per month. But a lot happened and the person got sick and he has to be doing dialysis every single day. We know what that cost. And unfortunately, boom, everything just goes into that health need. So please, I need you to please help us talk elaborately about how we can protect our wealth against emergencies that are really not emergencies and really emergencies such that we don't just labor for a while. Maybe someone that is going to retire has worked for 50 years, about to retire, to just be enjoying his or her wealth, but something just comes up and takes up all the money and the person is left stranded.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So let's start with the lighter ones, right? Again, an aspect of the Makassid, a major aspect of it is the protection of wealth, right? Again, I always mention that one of my favorite Sahaba is Abdurrahman bin Auf. My favorite, because on the one hand, he was wealthy. He lost all his wealth. He experienced the loss of wealth when he left Makkah, right? In Medina, he was offered the wife he didn't take. He got to the market, he structured, some kind of forward deals, But more importantly, it was the fact that when Umar said now Umar was going to die, he was tapped when he was observing Fajr, and was going to die, he nominated 6 people for caliphate, including Abraham bin Auf. Gave his slots to Uthman, Sayyidina Uthman, right? So he had a choice to become the head of state commander-in-chief. But he said, no, he left that slot. Again, these are these, some scholars have argued that it may not be Sahih, where, the Prophet said, on the day of judgment, I think Abraham bin Auf, somebody dreamt that on the day of judgment, Abraham bin Auf was not with the Sahabas. And by the time he came running, the Prophet asked him, where have you been? He said, I've been accounting for my wealth. And when Abraham bin Auf heard that, in real life, he started giving out a lot, from all his goods, all his merchandise, right? He was wealthy, right? So he's my favorite Sahaba. It was also promised paradise on earth, among the 10 that were promised paradise on earth. So in all capacity, he was a perfect gentleman, to if you like, to copy. Now, to answer your question, the Quran made it clear: avoidance of interest, avoidance of zakat, right? You pay zakat, you avoid interest. On a lighter note, more importantly now, right? Why that is constant K. You then want to invest. I'm going to come back to insurance, right? You see, in our part of the world, let me share an experience. Someone I know very well, very, very well, he stole his car, but there was a driver that stole his car. So insurance company said, we're not paying because your staff that stole your car. So they weren't going to pay. So if your staff steals your car, and that's why when I was working with one of the banks, and they wanted to do Uber, I wanted to finance Uber, I said, well, let's buy a lot of vehicles and give it to people on the back of Muraba. I said, no. On the back of Muraba, you're going to lose the car if the guy drives it away. Right? On the back of that analysis, we did finance those vehicles, about 100 vehicles. Again, a letter note. Now, you provide your own insurance in the world we have found ourselves. In more advanced economies like UK, no problem. You must, I mean, the country takes care of you. And I tell people, I teach social housing, by the way, in the university. And I tell them, if I'm able to advise those in power, 3 things that needs to be done. Social housing for all. In Singapore, 80% of the houses are social housing. Healthcare for all, education for all. 3 agenda, nothing more than that. When you have these 3 things, every other thing can be private sector driven, right? So unfortunately, now in the environment, you have to provide these things for yourself, right? Now, no matter, the reason why I gave the car example of an insurance company, that's we're not going to take it because you see, the insurance company can come with all sorts. One of the banks, we finance about 50 trucks. Within 90 days, we had lost 60 people had died from accidents, right? Once you treat a careful company and said, hey, now you need to meet up the claims. Only one of them met up the claims. I'll mention their names. They thought, no, the driver took one way. One said, oh, the driver was drunk. There could be reasons why a takaful or an insurance company will not take your claims. In reality, now, what then needs to happen is you take ownership of that reality, that future reality. You take the ownership now. How do you take the ownership? Just like I mentioned in the beginning, you must have, I'm real estate biased for those that know me well. You must have real estate investment that can help you absorb these shocks, right? You must have real assets investment, right? Why you're trying to put together real estate, which you must have as much as possible. Another good asset class is that you must have gold investment. The last time gold shot up by more than 40%, if I were experiencing 2025, the other experience was in the 70s. So because of the new global policies, the rise of BRICS, the emergence of new global power and leadership, right? You have seen heavy investment in gold, heavy investment. If you invest in gold, you're not going to go wrong. In fact, I can also argue, with utmost authority that if you invest in your Mudaraba and all of that, you cannot get as much as you invest in gold. So 2 options. You either tell a fund manager, take my 100 million naira, take my 50 million, take my 2 million naira, whatever. Invest in gold. I'm appointing you as a wakil, as an agent. Invest in gold. The gold is mine. You take your fee, right? Take a fee. Alternatively, you put the money in an investment pool, which Dr. Akeem also mentioned, an investment pool that is registered, right? Now, or invest in a real estate portfolio where there's capital appreciation, which is just beyond the expected profit you're supposed to get. So you do the profit, you're going to sell each unit for 100 million. At the end of the day, you sell it for 300 million. Capital appreciation. You can invest in those portfolios, right? It can give you, because you must provide your insurance yourself. Except you are living in the UK. If you're living in the US, 50 million Americans don't have insurance, right? And even if you have health insurance from institutions, in Nigeria, it doesn't cover a lot of things. So if you fall down today and you have a stroke, it's not going to cover it. Or if you need to, some special needs or something, right? So you must provide that insurance. That's clear, right? I've given an example of takaful companies where sometimes they struggle to meet up certain, not because they're not doing well, but because, of course, they're doing well, but because they can as well claim that, oh, the driver was drunk. And that's a good argument. That driver was drunk, so you cannot take that claim, right? So if there's a clause that prevents you or does not allow you to benefit from that insurance or takaful, then you're going to be left in the open, right? Now you diversify your investments, right? I talk about gold, I talk about real estate. They're stable, they're real assets. What other areas can you push money into that will give you sustainable wealth, sustainable cash flow? Because your housing, your education for your kids, your health is your problem. I cannot run away from it. So you have to put that. Again, one of the Takaful companies have done very well recently. They've come up with some kind of, health Takaful, which is fantastic. All right. You have to then try to increase your tabaru, your contribution, if you like, such that it can cover a lot of things. If it doesn't cover, it's a problem. And the other day, somebody was telling me of someone that has got a kidney challenge. What's the person going to do in Nigeria? Even if you're abroad, you still have to look for where to get kidney and all of that. So it means there are challenges. You have to provide for that future wealth, right? So that insurance is yours. Again, one of the things that we can do as associations, right, is to create our own unique Takaful arrangement, informal Takaful arrangement for our members, whereby people can invest in certain portfolios or pull money together for members. So when there are shocks, you can then up yourself. Now, of course, Gara, Basheer, that's avoidance of excessive uncertainty, and gambling. Basheer in Islam is not allowed. So conventional conventional insurance company is not allowed. But you know what? Scholars have argued that when you invest in volatile stock markets, even if it's Sharia compliant, it can have elements of uncertainty and gambling, right? So it means that because of the fluctuation and volatility in the stock market, it may not. It's good to have that as an asset class, but it may not be your best form of saving. I was speaking to somebody that has a particular shares. I don't want to mention the name of the shares. It's very scarce in the market. It's about the best performance. It's also Sharia compliant. And the guy says he needs money to buy land. I said, please, if you want to sell, I'm going to, we'll buy it. We'll buy it from you. So I'm calling him every day to say, we're going to be able to buy it because you can't get that in the market, right? Now, more importantly, lastly, we need to start to explore family work and proper inheritance planning. Early next year, there's going to be a new trustee, a Sharia compliant trustee company, which we're part of, alhamdulillah. That trustee company is going to help people plan their life. So what we're talking about right now, we have decided to institutionalize it so that when those shocks come, even if you don't have the means, but you're part of a community, you can enjoy some benefits. That's the reality that we're faced with. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So before you leave, I want to, is there a means to join the wait list of what you just said now? So
What did you not? I didn't get that.
The community you just talked about that you're part of for around family work, I want to know if there is a means to join that so that everybody on this call just get to be a beneficiary.
Yes, we can put people together. But very importantly, Sisters in Deen is strong. I mean, a lot of webinars don't have 150 people, 200 people. So I think Sisters in Deen, I know we talked about it last time, we didn't go further. We can actually work together to put these things in place so that people that have our plight, our interests, our concern, they have our kind of feelings, they understand what we need. The member that they've contributed either socially or financially, as the case may be, they can benefit. Because when these problems crystallize, they be the problems of the Ummah. God forbid your cousin has got a major challenge, it's your problem. Your brother, your sister, your in-law got a major problem, it's your problem, right? So it means we as Muslims, we are brothers and sisters, we need to solve this problem, right? So on a lighter note, I still believe strongly that with the kind of zeal and energy you have in Sister in Deen, I think we can actually work together to put together all these things. But it's going to be an informal one at this time. So everybody knows that when there are shocks, they can go to Sisters in Deen. And of course, it can then be a part of a larger, if you like, conglomerate, that can then meet up with the challenges of our members, of our Muslim Ummah as a whole. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. This is to informally announce that for those of us on the call, one of the things we plan to also launch during this session is the mentorship initiative. So a form is going to be rolled out. So please still wait on the call so that you'll be a part of that initiative. So like Dr. Basheer just mentioned, individuals who submit their data will be considered for every other means for which every other initiative we are going to be bringing to fore in that area.
Apologies.
All right.
I mean, we have over 200 of us there. I'm not sure the number. Can everybody make a commitment, to Sister Indine of some kind of informal takaful contribution today, or within the week or next or something, some kind of commitment that we all want to support. And let's have to pull a special fund, together for the purpose, because again, we can talk and I'll go away, I will forget about this talk, right? But want everybody, depending on the size of your wealth, together, whether you've invested in banks or insurance company or takaful company, as the case may be. Apart from that, let's just say that, you know what, we want to today have a micro health takaful, a micro family work organized by Sisters Indine. Trust author, Marble Capital can be advisors. We can work together, but let's agree that whether you're a member or not, let everybody have to push something. That commitment, that fund should go out today, tomorrow. Let people say, you know what, I want to start putting this money down, so that when there are shocks, we can call on ourselves.
Right. Thank you very much for.
Because there will be shocks. There will be shocks. There will be shocks. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. And that is a very, very true reflection of what can happen. There will be shocks. There will be. We just need to prepare ourselves to get that shock absorber in place. Thank you very much. For those of us dropping our emails, yes, we are going to get the link to this call, and I am going to share the link to the form later. So please just still wait on the call. Again, final question to Dr. Akeem now before I start taking the questions in the chat box. I want to take one of the questions in the chat box to be my final question because it comes in line with what I have. And it's about the new tax law kicking in 2026. Everybody seems to now be interested as to how or what they should put in place to better harness the provisions of that new tax law. So for business owners, what should they know about the tax law? How should they receive payment, or in terms of savings, in terms of structuring their savings account and corporate account, in terms of investment, what are the key things they should understand as we enter 2026 vis-a-vis the new tax law? Dr. Kim. Is Dr. Kim still on the call? Okay. I don't think he's on the call any longer. Sir, can you please help us take that, Dr. Basheer?
Dr. Akeem is an accountant.
Yes, and I was hoping you would speak to that. Yes, I know. Okay.
So I don't want to preempt him.
Okay.
Yes. Let me leave him with the expert to handle that.
All right.
When it comes on board.
Okay, no problem. So we'll just take that as soon as it's back. So we'll take that question. So on this note, I want to thank everybody for our patience so far. So I will just move to asking some of the questions we've dropped in the chat box as the session was ongoing. Okay. So, sir, for now, I'll be directing the questions to you. Messages, we're appreciating our panelists for their amazing jobs. Thank you very much. Okay. So somebody's asking how to build halal portfolio as a 9 to 5. What investment platform are available? That was even directed to you, sir.
Okay. So depending on how much money you have, again, we talk about the fact that savings can make you a Dangote, right? But savings is good, notwithstanding. It can give you a platform to start to grow, right? So if you have a 9 to 5, you need to think about something that you have a bit of passion for, on the one hand, or on the other hand, something that can give you fair income. There's somebody that I know that is close to me that sells kirishi. There's somebody along the way that does a smoothie, somebody makes yogurts, right? They make quite a lot of money from it. So you need to think of, something you have a kind of passion for, or at least you can get to do easily. But you need to figure that out. You need to have a list, analyze all of them, maybe 5 options. They can pick 1 or 2 at the end of the day, and then be sure that you have the capacity to do these things. There's somebody I know, the person has a farm. You know what the person does? The person grinds moringa leaves, pour it in powder, does bitter leaf powder, clove powder, and sells. The person's got his regular job, and you can put whatever price on it, and people buy them, So you need to find your own passion, what you can do easily. But again, one of the good things is that if the transaction, if you have tried it before for a few weeks or a few months, it's then very easy to then see how you can get financial support to enhance it. And again, I must keep mentioning this. The federal government has got the zero interest MSME fund. Well, it's a federal government MSME fund. The fund sits with BOI is at zero interest with BOI. But when you're accessing it, you get it at less than 10%. But you have to identify the banks, right? If you're interested in real estate, there's a MREF fund, Murphy Real Estate Investment Fund, right? You can get a house for a maximum of 100 million, and it's for 20. You can get up to 20 years depending on your age, and the rate on it is 9.75. The conventional one is life. It's sit with a few banks. The 250 billion naira fund, only 53 billion has been used as of last week, and then the non-interest version of it is going to be ready first quarter of next year. Another 250 billion naira fund, right? Just in case you want to diversify into that real estate portfolio we talked about. So these are federal government opportunities that are there that I can also tap into. Yeah, I'll take the next question.
Thank you very much, sir. So the next question here, the person is asking, which is better, saving for people who may know the value of the wealth while you be the one who will account for it before Allah, or spend your wealth the way you like while alive and hopeful for his accounting before Allah?
To answer that question, I mean, there's this a bit where this gentleman told everybody, when I die, give out all my dates, give the warehouses, Medina, give everything out. As when he died, they gave out everything, and then they took some to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet said, "Oh, this is nice." And the Prophet said, "Can you take me to the warehouse?" And we went to the warehouse where he had the dates, and the Prophet saw one of the dates stuck to the edge of the warehouse, and the Prophet picked it up and said, "If this gentleman had given out this piece while he was alive, it would have been better than all that I gave out after I died." Right? Now, back to your question, if I understand it well. Do you want to squander your wealth, or do you want to give out? Is a perfect mix. Again, like I said, we're coming up with an Islamic trustee, a fantastic one. A maximum of 1/3 of your wealth can be willed, if you like. And the real one, you have to for something for a family. You don't expect, for a family, you don't expect your family to suffer when you're no more, right? So in other words, the Quran has made it very clear on how we're going to share all of these things. The part that should be kept and the part that should be given out. The maximum that should be given out. When you're living on earth, it's good to give out a lot, but you cannot over give out. Of course, you also know the popular hadith where Abu Bakr said, "I'm going to give all my wealth." And Abu Bakr gave all his wealth. And the master was going to give, the Prophet said, "No, why not just give?" Then I agreed to give half of it. So what that person is, the Prophet said, "No, you just give a third or a fourth or a fifth or a tenth, depending on the level of your faith." Right? So Abu Bakr was able to give all his wealth in the case of Abu Bakr. And don't forget, Abu Bakr knew that after a prophet dies, his daughter is going to die, barely 6 months after, right? So for Abu Bakr, there's nothing to worry about. So he gave everything to the prophet and to the cause of Islam. So again, we have to make a balance. You have to strike a good balance. You need to live well, like I said. I talk about the maqasid, we talk about part of it, expansion, protection of wealth, of intellect, of posterity, of faith, of life itself, of life, good life, And maqasid itself is about good life, eat good food, travel, of course, also support others. So you have to balance them really. And you cannot just enjoy so much, buy all the expensive things, and then you don't give out, So let's look at it this way. If you have to travel, if you have to go on a holiday, I don't know how much you're going to spend, but in Naira terms, at the minimum, maybe you spend, if you go with economy, you probably spend about 3 million naira if you travel for just 5 days. Now, have you thought about the fact that, let me not travel this particular time, let me just give out the bulk of this wealth. So in order to control lifestyle, you can actually say, you know what, 2010, I'm going to give you 1 million today, I'm not going to travel, or I'm going to, go to a smaller hotel or something, just to, balance things up, right? So again, you can't give out everything, the function of your wealth, except you have generational wealth, that keeps giving you cash flow. Maybe, I don't know, you have 10 houses in the Atlantic, right? I just feel that, okay, you have so much money, you can then squander so much. I'm not saying you should do that, because you know that there's cash flow that can then help you to, that can give you sustainable wealth to support others. But again, if you're earning salary, if you're doing small business, as much as possible, it's good to have a proper budget, like we discussed, a proper plan, put some in different portfolios, and then give out what is reasonable. Allah. And of course, look at zakat. For every 1 million, you only pay 25,000 naira. Just think of it that way. For every 1 million you have invested, you only pay 25 million. So Allah has even made it very easy for you. That you don't have to spend everything. Just give out 25. But of course, for sadaqah, you can give out much more than that. Allah.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to combine about 4 questions into one because of our time, and they are around investment. So, sir, please briefly describe what aggressive investment is and what investment is halal and options available to people. That's about 4 questions I've condensed into one.
Okay, so the function of age, right? So I was speaking with someone, and the guy said, okay, he has some investors in their 60s. If you're an investor in your 60s or your mid-50s, if you invest in a sukuk, a primary offer, right, or issuance, state federal government sukuk, it's usually for 7 to 10 years. You have to hold on to maturity. You get a coupon every 6 months, which is not bad, right? But you cannot exit. You have to hold on to maturity. If you want to exit, you have to exit that with an haircut. What that means is that if you had invested 1 million naira in the sukuk and it's for 7 years, and you bought the sukuk this year, I want to exit this December, I go to FMDQ or NGX, okay, I want to sell my sukuk. It means that they will come back to market. You can only sell it for maybe 550. Sorry, you can sell it for around 950, 900 thereabout, because the real value of the sukuk will have been lost, right? So it depends on your age. Do you want to are you fine with that? Or do you want, some guys who said, you know what, I want my money back in 90 days. I want to buy a house. Or I want to pay school fees, right? So 90 days. 90 days, you collect the money, you invest it in a low-risk investment. Say you invest with other banks, right? And then the return may not be that much, because the longer the investment, the better the profit. The shorter the investment, the smaller the profit. And the smaller the amount, the smaller the profit. The more the amount, the more the profit. If you know what I mean. So you then think to yourself that, okay, if I'm going to put it in, if I want the money at any time, right, 90 days, it then means I have to put it in low-risk investment, like, in asset management company, in a particular portfolio, or in any of the non-interest banks. The return is going to be much lower, but you can get your money, even if you want to terminate early. That, hey, I need to pay school fees in January. I've invested today. You want to terminate second week in January, you can get that money back, right? If you've made fees from a transaction, or you have inherited so much, right? The preferred investment would then be real estate, right? Either invest in, of course, you have to buy off plan. If you buy off plan, it's better for you because you're able to gain from capital appreciation. If you have FX in Nigeria today, the FX gives very low return because they're trying to discourage FX investment. It's always better to invest the money in Naira. If the money is sizable, it then means that you can do FX in real estate. If you do FX in real estate, you get perhaps if there's appreciation, of course, dollar is depreciating at this time against all currencies to a very large extent. But you get appreciation, capital value appreciation on the asset, potential rental appreciation on the asset, and if possible, perhaps you can also get appreciation on the FX itself, right? Perhaps, right? In a bad case, because again, we don't know what's going to happen election time. Is Trump going to strike us? We hope he doesn't. All of those things. So those are options. Now, again, gold. I talked about gold earlier on. Gold is a fantastic asset by any standard, right? And that's because I've given you the analysis to say that it has not appreciated so much in the last 50 years, right? So invest in gold. It doesn't mean you have to go and buy big bars and keep in your house. You can invest and put them in the bank, right? So those are good investments. Anytime you're selling those gold, it gives you serious appreciation. Don't invest in vehicles. You're going to be wasting money. Don't invest in assets that will depreciate consistently over time. And don't invest in funds. Don't invest in brand new boats. Don't invest in traveling all over the place, right? All right. So these are the quick ones I can figure out right now. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll take that as a final one because I know that the time is fast spent. So this person is concerned about health insurance in the UK and is interested in knowing if there are Islamic insurance company. I don't know if this person is a he or she can divert to.
Okay, so the health insurance bit in the UK, if you like Takaful started very well in the UK, but I'm aware that at some point they struggled. They couldn't compete effectively well with a lot of the other insurance companies. I don't have the records as such, right? But I know the emerging ones coming up. But I think you can check that out quickly to see if you can have this health insurance. Of course, generally you have your benefit as being a UK resident, right? So as a resident, you can walk into the hospital. The only problem is that if you have a major ailment or something, they're going to give you a long appointment. When I was a student in the UK, I was going to put on my one of my teeth, and I had to be on queue for like 4 months, right? Of course, it was free, right? So, but assuming I had health insurance, I'll have just gone and get it done very quickly. For people that have more serious ailments, you have to wait on the queue if you have to use NHS, right? However, I can still come back to you on the available health insurance Takaful that I have in the UK. I can come back to you on that. Yeah, basically. But again, usually if you have your own cash, like I always mentioned, from savings and from cash flow from rent, it's then very easy to just walk into a place and get the thing sorted out. That's not a sustainable approach or lifestyle. In reality, if you're saving in bits, and that's why I'm saying that, as a body, as a group, we need to hold on to our destiny and take care of that ourselves, rather than wait for some other guys to do these things for us. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So I can say Dr. Akeem is back. So, sir, there was a question directed to you, but unfortunately, because of network, you're not on the call then. So I would please need you to please help us respond to that. And it speaks to the new tax law coming in 2026. How should entrepreneurs now, what should they know? What should they put in place in terms of receiving payment, how to structure, how they get maybe their savings account and corporate accounts, as well as investment vis-a-vis the new tax law? What should they put in place? Dr. Akeem, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the most important thing I will ask anybody in business is regarding the new tax law, is to know. Knowledge is power. You must try to understand what the new tax law actually is all about. Okay, there are so many armchair analysis that tells people that it's going to be a challenging one. You're going to be paying CGT. You're going to be paying so much. You're going to be paying so much. It actually isn't the case. It's actually something that is going to be beneficial both to the government and also to us as citizens. There are many and multiple waivers, in the new tax laws that we need to be aware of. Of course, it also tries to minimize and reduce instances of tax evasion, that a lot of people like to do when they do not pay taxes as appropriate. So but on a general note, it is not a bad thing. It's going to be good for the government. It's going to be good for the citizens as well. There's a lot of room that has been made for people that are on the lower rung of the economy not to pay taxes. There are tax waivers if they are earning less than 800,000 naira. There are tax waivers even for CGT where the earnings are less than 150 million naira. So there are so many waivers that have been imputed. I could share with you at least 50 of such waivers that are in the new tax law. Now, regarding those that have businesses, corporate entities, and all of that, you are meant to run your business as a limited liability. Do it. If you have to pay taxes, pay your taxes. But remember that there are capital allowances. Remember there are also benefits. There are withholding tax benefits that you get as well. So the first thing I would say, I would think, is knowledge. Do not get worried about the new taxes. It's not going to criminalize us or make it very difficult to do business. No. It's just going to ensure that both the payee and the recipient, the government gets the fair tax dues, and it also ensures that everybody pays what they should be paying. It's not unduly going to increase your tax liabilities. Just like you've been avoiding or evading taxes before, it may be a bit more difficult for you this time around. That's what I would say in general. But please, regarding our specific functions, let us speak to a tax consultant and they will tell you how you can ensure you optimize your tax payments regarding your own industry. Because many industries are giving a lot of waivers and a lot of support. But don't let us get scared about the new tax code. It's not going to be punitive. It's actually going to support business by and large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that submission. May Allah reward you abundantly. On that note, we've come to the end of the panel session. I want to please let us appreciate my panelists from Dr. Sulaiman Ogunmuyiwa, who has left the call, to Dr. Basheer and to Dr. Akeem. Please let us use our virtual applause. Please let us appreciate them. That if we have to pay for this session, I know that it's going to cost us hundreds of thousands for the very least. And I know these people are extremely busy. Thank you very much, sirs, for joining the call. As I mentioned earlier, we plan to move from here into a mentorship initiative called Sisters and then Foundation. So we don't want this to just be a talk show. We have provided a platform where we can further mentor. I know some people are asking for the link to get in touch with our panelists so that they can further be mentored by them. So we are launching a mentorship initiative, and I'm going to drop a form now in the chat box. Before that, please allow me to stop this recording, and this officially brings us to the end of the panel session.